Everybody. And in the short term, the Democrats are going to look really bad on the TV and the news cycle because they did cave. The deal that they took had been on the table for something like 24 days with no changes, no nothing. And it is important to note here that the Democratic senators that all voted for this, none of them are up for election in the coming midterm cycle next year. So all of them are pretty much insulated. They came in, they did this, they pushed this deal through. And they're not going to really have the repercussions themselves, but it's a cave. There's no way to go around it. So in the short term, they're going to lose. In the long term, though, I'm not sure President Trump and the GOP gained anything. The fundamentals on the ground here haven't changed a lot. You're still got economic trouble coming. This is still a continuing resolution that's only going to go through January unless it's amended. We're still going to have to do the rest of the appropriation bill. Remember, this deal only has two of them, agricultural and DOD. So that still all has to be dealt with. Plus the underlying issues that got brought up during the shutdown, like healthcare problems, that's still going to be there that needs to be dealt with. And now you're going to have an election year on top of it. And you have kind of a weird session between the holidays. They're going to squeeze in trying to do a few things. The fundamentals on the ground haven't changed a whole lot, except people are more upset. There's more confusion. Long run, I don't think anybody won this at all.
Andrew gave us a closer look at the main sticking points that led to the shutdown and what Republicans and Democrats have finally agreed on to bring it to an end.
Well, the deal that they took in place is that they're going to talk about the Democrats have secured a, I guess we'll call it a handshake deal. I don't know if they actually shook hands on it. There's a promise that they will get a vote on ACA subsidies. That's Obamacare, that's healthcare, somewhere in the near future, probably in the January term, probably not before the end of the year. But they're just doing this all on a promise. And that was the issue they wanted to raise. The only problem with that is while it's a major issue and it's going to be a major cost of living expense for people, it's not the main issue that a lot of people will worry about. The one problem with government shutdown, and we've done these a few times now, is the party that does the shutdown almost never gets anything out of doing the shutdown, and yet they keep doing it. And especially the Democratic Party now, who caved, and there's some evidence now when you look at the fact that, the off-season elections had gone very well for them. The air travel thing was really starting to ding the Trump administration. Had they hung in there a little bit longer, they may have gotten some kind of a concession at least, but as it is, they got absolutely nothing that hadn't been on the table. So when people say this was a shutdown over nothing that caused a lot of pain and suffering for no good reason, this deal kind of gives them fuel for that fire.
We also broke down the chances of another shutdown when Congress reconvenes in January.
Likely they'll probably try to figure out a way to get around it. I don't think anybody wants to do this. One of the things about this is I think we go through cycles where people forget just what we just talked about, that these don't ever actually work out very well and nobody really wins. We forget that and then they do it. Things like the air travel getting messed up. Remember last time we did the government shutdown, it was TSA threatening to go on strike because they didn't want to interrupt the air travel. We actually interrupted it this time, so it was actually worse in that respect. I don't know that they're going to want to do it again. But we also have a very contentious environment in both Congress and with the coming election where maybe it just goes so bad sideways and you can't get a deal done that it could potentially happen again. I don't think anybody wants it to happen again. I think we've learned our lesson to not put our hand on that hot stove for a while, but it is a possibility, especially if people really dig in and don't have good answers to these really complex questions like the ACA subsidies, like quality of life, like cost of living, all the things we're going to be hearing about relentlessly between now and next November's election.